Good morning. This is the Pennsylvania Coalition with our show Growing Up Charter. I'm Dr. Annie Clark, the CEO. I'm here with my great guest, Guy Ciarrocchi, and he is going to tell us a little bit about himself, and then we're going to get into the topic of advocacy.
Hi, Dr. Clark. Thanks for having me. So today, my family and I, we live in Paoli in Chester County. But my wife and I both grew up in Philadelphia. I grew up in South Philly, my wife in Northeast Philadelphia. I always kid that I'm one of the few kids who grew up in South Philly that had a polka band at his wedding because my wife's Polish. We have three children. They're older now. Our youngest is a senior at the University of Cincinnati. So we're at that phase of our lives. And as I said, we're based in Paoli. And if you're looking for me and I'm not doing something connected with public policy, you'll find me on a softball field. I've been coaching girls softball for about 24 years.
Wow.
My background has really been in what I would say in advocacy, either inside government or outside over my lifetime. My focus has really been on trying to make government work and put people in an opportunity to succeed. My interest in school choice, my interest in charter schools goes back from its early days, helping to lobby to pass the charter bill. At the time, I worked at the Philadelphia Archdiocese, and I actually helped convince the Philadelphia Archdiocese to sell what was then a vacant building to open a charter school in Philadelphia. To my heart, and I have a deep interest in making sure that charter schools thrive and that the children in them succeed.
I love that. I love your passion, and I learned something new about you. I knew that you had been in the movement a really long time, but I didn't know it went back that far. What do you think when you think about advocacy in those early years and you think about where we are today? What is the same? What is different?
Yeah, so I think the difference is in the beginning, in the early 90s and early 2000s, as charter schools were just starting, there was more of a sense of the mechanics. How do we get these schools open and how will they work? And to some extent, the legislature and those people that pay attention to these things were interested, if not helping, they were interested in at least watching to see what would happen.
Mm-hmm.
And as we sit here 25 years later, I think the biggest difference is, unfortunately, is that charter schools have fallen into somewhat of a political fight, in that you're either viewed as being for charter schools or opposed. And the difference now in the beginning is that in the early years, those of us who believed in the concept of allowing schools to be creative, of giving children a second chance in some cases, or allowing teachers and educators to be innovators and have schools focused on science or distance learning or the arts or theater or history. In the beginning, we needed parents to be engaged and the people involved in those schools to be engaged to make sure that the school succeeded. As time's gone on, we've needed people to not only make sure the schools function and the children do well, but that we tell our story. Because now, as I referenced, we're into this political battle where it's important that the parents, the teachers, the administrators, the board members are part of telling a good story, because we need to make sure that those people who would like to curtail, shrink, or even close charter schools, that they don't close down schools that are working and take opportunities away. So that's how it's changed. In the beginning, it was a sense of, let's see how this new idea works. And now we've been so successful that people that don't like the idea would like there to be less charter schools. So it compels us to learn how to be good advocates to fight for our children.
Yes, I love that. I agree with you 100% about really that is where we started, and we are in a different place now. I think for me, I was just highlighting the law where it says charter schools are to be innovative. And when you go into each one of our charter schools, they all have different purposes and personalities and culture. And I think innovation, I do see in all of our charter schools. And I would like them to actually push more into that innovative space, sort of like take a step from where we are and say, what's next for us? What do you think a charter school leader could do to sort of maybe be brave in this time that, is scary with renewals and, in the culture and climate of Pennsylvania. But what would be your advice to our school leaders?
So first and foremost, whether you're the CEO, the chief academic officer, however your school structured, look, first and foremost, you have to run a good school. The children have to learn. The teachers have to feel empowered to teach them. You have to be accountable with your budget. So that's first and foremost. But one of the secondary responsibilities is to make sure that you understand that your school is important in and of itself, but
Mhm.
that also you're part of a network, you're part of a coalition of schools, and you're trying to keep the flame alive for an idea that schools should be innovative, that schools should